Alright, when a child acts up, disciplinary actions are a must to raise a well-behaving child. Disciplinary action I will be speaking today is spanking. To spank or no. Alright, before everybody starts to think that I'm just going to brainwash into believing that, wait a minute. I'm going to brainwash into thinking that spanking is the only answer. I like to say, chillax. It's clear that over the past decade, spanking has become a very sensitive issue. Should I spank my child or no? If the answer was that easy, we wouldn't be having this problem. Every child is different, every child has his or her own needs, and there is no one method to discipline a child. I'm not here to tell you that spanking is the first thing you should do to a child when something goes wrong, but rather to inform you that it's not a bad thing either. Okay. Okay. Before we go any further, the definition of spanking, according to dictionary.com, is a number of slaps on the buttocks deliberately drafted to section as for punishment. Okay? One of the biggest misconceptions about spanking is that spanking is the same as abuse. But as you can see there, abuse is the mistreatment of a child by a parent/guardian, and this includes neglecting, beating, or sexual molestation. Alright? The line between spanking has always been a very controversial issue. When is spanking not spanking anymore? And when does spanking end and abuse start? So for one person, spanking could be like a slap on a tush, and for another person, spanking could be like busting a chair into one's face and be like, you're disciplined. So that is why, in 1982, the guideline set by the Supreme Court of Canada is... Oh, shoot. Wait. Aha! Okay. So, it's restricted to children from 2 to 12, and discipliner must use only reasonable force. Alright? But reasonable force is quite subjective. Therefore, on January 30th, 2004, the Supreme Court added some new rules such as no objects, no hits to the face or head, and must not injure child. Also added is that it must only involve minor corrective force of transitory and trifling nature. All that means is it mustn't be enough to hurt the child, and it can't be for an extended period of time. So remember, ages 2 to 12, no objects, no hits to the face or head, and must not injure child. Oh man, I hate that one. And here are just some of the objects you cannot use. Cannot use no ruler, chair, bazooka, nature sword, car, AK-47, or Big Mac. Alright? Also, a misconception of spanking is that it will result in drug abusing, rebellious, and violent children. Children who turn out like this usually have drug abusing, rebellious, and violent parents. The efficiency of spanking is directly proportional to the responsibility of the parent. And as shown here, efficiency proportional to responsibility of parents. Alright? That simple. Spanking can be very effective if the parent is a responsible parent. Parents should always use spanking as their last resort, and parents should always explain to a child why they were spanked and assure their love. As a child, I remember getting spanked a lot. My parents told me not to do things many, many times before spanking, and they would always have a talk to me after spanking and tell me what I did wrong. And I went something like this. Oh, double me, what? Did that translate into English as, oh, son, I love you so much. That's why I spanked you. I love you. But when you came to nobility, that's not too good. Alright? Cool. Alright? So I visited many Eastern countries before. I've seen children getting spanked in front of their houses and on the street, but not once have I seen them rebel against their parents or act in an overly violent way or do drugs. They grow to become very disciplined and come to Canada where they advance into the most difficult fields of work. They come to Canadian schools and get top grades. There is no denying it. Disciplined children do well in school. I'm not saying that if you spank your children, they're going to do good in school. I'm saying that spanking is a good form of discipline, and could help your child do good in school. Alright? So by trying to ban spanking, we are getting rid of one of the most effective forms of discipline in history. Every child has their own needs, so you have to talk to your child, reason with your child, and if all else fails, you spank the child. I'm sure that most of our parents, grandparents, and grandparents' parents have all been spanked growing up, and they have turned out just fine. Look at what their generations have accomplished. Space shuttles, air travel, computers, internet, it's endless. And it's only been about 2 decades since spanking became like a kind of bad thing, and look at what we accomplished so far. Drive-by shooting! Underage drinking! Oh my God! Drug abuse! Oh my goodness! Alright? Once again, I'm not here to tell you that spanking should be used as a first resort. However, it is a very, very effective form of discipline and should not be outlawed. When used correctly, spanking should not leave any emotional or physical scars. If it does, it's abuse. Okay? Spanking should not injure a child. So if you think that spanking harder and harder and harder will work, well, think again. Your child just has different needs. And remember, kids, spanking is like a diet. Works wonderfully. Wait, I got a pop quiz for you. Alright, so what do we get out of that? I don't know. It's fine. So, what do you do when your child acts up and then talking and reasoning and all that other stuff doesn't work?
You spank them.
You spank them.
Yes. And what do you do when your kid fails grade 1, 2, and 3 and nothing works? Abby?
You spank your children!
And Yannick, what happens if your child gets asthma? Spank your children!
Spank your children! Spank your children!
Thank you very much.